Our last article that we're going to talk about is Harrison Ford, quote unquote, returning. And when I say quote unquote returning, we'll talk about that in a second. Harrison Ford returning for the fifth and final Indiana Jones film coming out in 2022. It was it was announced at last Thursday that Harrison Ford will be coming back for the fifth and final film, Indiana Jones, produced by Lucasfilm, this last Thursday during the investors meeting. Let me cross my arms here for a second. All right. So when we say the fifth and final movie, I think what we really mean is the fourth and final movie. Is what we really mean by that. Harrison Ford is 78 years old. He's 78. By the time that this thing starts filming, first of all, there was a film that was supposed to come out in 2016. That didn't happen. And then it got pushed back to 2021, and then COVID. And now it's been pushed back to 2022. Indiana Jones 5 is a property that Lucasfilm has been continually saying, it's coming. No, it's coming. It's still coming. You guys, we have Indiana Jones 5 and it's coming. Don't worry, it's coming. Who's going to be in it? Harrison Ford's going to be in it. Harrison Ford, what do you have to say about it? I'm going to be in it. It's coming.
That's a good impression of Ford too.
Thank you.
Pretty solid.
Thank you.
Give me back my family. I want my family.
Get off my plane.
That's just him doing. That's him in Indiana Jones 5. It's just him, just doing his own dialogue from other.
Get off my train. Because he's Indiana Jones.
No ticket.
Eric, I have no idea why your window decided to resize itself, but that's an issue we can address later.
I'm fine with it.
He's tiny Eric.
It makes me feel like I'm just kind of in your brain talking.
You're a brownie.
That's right. I don't want to acknowledge the fourth film as well, but the reality is he did this movie, and it reminded us all that he is older. And I really worry that it's not worth it. And I get it. It is his property. He is still alive. It's not his property. It's Lucasfilm's property, but it's him, right? He is Indiana Jones, a character who I adored as a kid, especially wanting to have a whip and swing through trees and wear a cool hat. And I always looked for a fun fedora, and I don't look good in fedoras. I don't look good in hats.
Very few people do.
And it was such a disappointment in my brain. But, I became a professor because of him. No, it's not. I mean, I was a professor, but not because of him.
In that regard, I actually had to look up. Somebody asked me the question the other day of, does Indiana Jones actually have like a degree? Like we call him Dr. Jones, but where's his degree from? So I went down the spiral of like wiki fandom, and come to find out he has a doctorate in archaeology, from one of the universities in France, and I can't think of the name of it. But it is an actual doctorate that he achieved in 2 years, which is impressive in and of itself. But considering the fact that he never actually got a master's degree. I mean, he got an honorary master's degree because of his adventures, but the University of Chicago gave him an honorary. This is all fiction. None of this is real.
Of course it is.
But within the universe of Indiana Jones, the University of Chicago, having received his bachelor's in archaeology, they gave him a master's degree, an honorary master's degree. Having never actually finished the program, he went on to get a doctorate in France. You're welcome.
Are you saying this is a similar scandal as the whole paying for your admission? That he used the artifacts. He's like, it belongs in a museum, and then would take it.
It's along similar lines, yeah.
Just give it to the university and be like, here, give me a degree. Which is, it was different.
Very much along similar lines.
Yeah, I think this movie is going to be that movie where it's a passing the torch. It was a failed pass. Oh, that's so good. I will say I've been getting into 3D printing. I might have to print something like that. That's amazing. That is so amazing, actually. The more I'm looking at that, that's impressive. Uh,
I still need to
but
get the Sean
you
Connery
know,
stones.
I mean, I'll do Sean Connery impressions all day long because that's amazing and lovely. And I will say, when I went to Petra, with the carving inside the wall, I knew better. I knew that that was not what was inside that doorway. And inside the doorway is just a giant cube that's been carved out. Um, but I was hoping so like in my brain, because that movie is so iconic and that look is so iconic. I get there and I'm awed and I walk through the doorway and it's nothing but part of me. There's a small part of me that was really hoping that movies were real. Um, I think that the last movie tried to pass the torch and it failed miserably for so many reasons, the movie and the passing of the torch. I bet they're going to try again, or if they're smart, they will, in a sense, bury it. They're gonna say the final Indiana Jones film and mean it this time. Um, and then maybe in 25 years we'll get a reboot, and please not earlier.
Here's my theory.
Yeah.
This will be the final film for Harrison Ford. And this will be the final film for a while. But I have a feeling that in less than 5 years after this movie comes out, if it does come out, that's
Yeah,
a
good
huge
point.
if, because like there have been absolutely no detail. First of all, I think everybody wants Indiana Jones in the haunted castle. I think that's what we all want to see, because that was a script that was actually written,
Yeah,
and it was alluded to briefly in Last Crusade,
that's what we say.
briefly,
Yeah,
but not really. Um,
tapestries, tapestries. All right, go ahead.
a Scottish accent he cannot do. Um, and I'm not just talking about Harrison Ford. Um,
What? I'm
Tapestry.
a Spaniard.
Um,
I'm a Russian sea
oh
captain.
man, perfect, perfect. But I believe, this is my own personal speculation here, that after there is the next installment of an Indiana Jones movie, I have a strong feeling that they're going to turn it into a series. Indiana Jones, the series. I think, whether it's,
But they did that,
oh,
and we had the Adventures of Young
that's
Indiana
young
Jones,
Indiana Jones.
and yeah,
If you cast a
I could see
Chris
them
Pratt,
rebooting that.
if you cast a Chris Pratt type, because again,
Mhm.
like everybody was going off of like, oh, we want Chris Pratt to play the role, and it never happened, and that's fine. But if you get like somebody like Chris Pratt to don the fedora and to just kind of go off on his own adventures, side adventures that have nothing to do with the movies, you could do some pretty fun stuff.
It's true. I think this is a really good statement about film and television right now as well. Harrison Ford is an older actor, and we have a very good population of older performers as actors. And I think, unfortunately, we are losing them fairly quickly, of sorts. And if we're lucky, that's not going to stick around. If we're lucky, we're going to get that sort of fade off in a very natural sense, and we're going to get some brand new people in. We got, I think, an age gap. It's here and there. I think that Timothy Chalamet is the next person who's young and up
Yeah,
and coming pretty strongly. I feel like we need to make sure we get an influx of younger actors before we cast someone like Chris Pratt. Sure, he's got that style down, but also he's not a youngin either, and he's already in the older stages. It would
yeah.
be nice to get some young blood in so that we could have a future Harrison Ford, 50 years from now, which is tricky to get because right now we're only refreshing from our 30 years ago generation, our
I
generation.
agree.
I would love to be in a new Indiana Jones movie, but
Would you like to play Indiana Jones?
oh gosh, I'd love to, but no, at the same time. I'm not the right person for it. I would much rather be a villain. I think
Oh,
the villains are
villains are
so
so
much more
much better.
fun, at least to portray. But I mean, yeah, I mean, if someone said, Eric, here's your whip, congratulations, you're the next Indiana Jones, I'm not saying no, to be very clear.
Hello, work.
Yeah. Oh gosh, if you said, hey, Eric, you're gonna hold this boom and we'll pay you. Hey, go get coffee, we'll pay you. Yeah.
Great.
Okay,
Yep.
sure.
That I can do. Sure. Easy.
If that right now, why not? But in reality, gosh, it would just be fun. It'd be fun. I don't have any faith in this project at all, and
I
nothing is giving me hope.
So I kind of feel like we're going to get maybe a just kind of like obviously like one last hurrah with Indiana Jones with Harrison Ford. I think they're going to learn from their mistakes from the previous film, and just
Yes.
make it fun. Like do fan service and just make a fun adventure movie without it having to have some kind of moral or well, obviously, like there will be probably like some kind of a morality story to it, but without it being so heavy-handed and oh, knowledge was their treasure. Oh, give me a break.
Yeah,
Come on.
but we're also in an age right now where appropriation is maybe not the best thing, and that's kind of what Indiana Jones does. Is he takes stuff and of old people's things and steals it in a really glorified, romanticized way. You wonder if this is the right story that can be told right now. And he is an antiquated character. It's why moving him forward in time with the last film didn't work. But of course, Harrison Ford's getting older. So my question to you is: we had Russians as the villain last time. Who do we get as villains this
Depends on
time?
what time period
Because
it's
he
set.
ain't get, it's not going back in time, that's for sure, unless he's literally time traveling,
Um, I mean,
Bill and Ted
no.
style.
I mean, are they going to keep it in the 50s? They could move forward to the 60s or 70s. What is, because he's
It's marijuana.
I know,
Marijuana's
right?
my favorite.
Marijuana was their treasure. Um,
And he goes to Vietnam. And
so he typically goes after religious artifacts, right? The Shankara stones, the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail.
he's going to go for the Quran this time. He's got to find the
Oh
original.
well, if you want to talk about appropriation, that's a perfect artifact for him to go find. Um,
Right?
it's like I like the idea of religious symbology in these films. That's
Hmm.
something that we didn't get much of in the last one. In fact, it was completely devoid of any religious affiliation. Not that
Yeah.
Indiana Jones needs to have a religious affiliation, but I think that it's embedded into kind of the character of Indiana Jones. That
Yeah.
this is his brand of archaeology, rather.
Well, and artifacts were very religious
Yeah.
based. And so this is the era of finding all that stuff and going deeper. I mean, we can go a little more spiritual and go Shangri-La potentially as a potential
I
set
keep
piece.
coming back
I don't know.
to I keep coming back to the haunted castle, because
Hmm.
again,
I think it's a good
spirits,
choice.
religious affiliation just by their spiritual nature, their ghostly natures. It turns into a ghost story. It delves into a very
Yeah.
different theme, and again, we can kind of have that appropriative separation a little bit and just like it doesn't have to be about any one particular culture or society. It can just kind of be like a weird spooky ghost story that's just fun, like Indiana Jones battling ghosts. I think could be really
I love it.
cool. And maybe it'll turn out to be like a really fascinating episode of Scooby-Doo where it's like some guy behind like with arms and levers and oh
Like Dr. Jones. Like, what's that? Right over there, Doctor.
I really don't want them to bring back Karen Allen. I feel like they have to reference her now because they got married in the last movie. So if they're going to acknowledge anything Indiana Jones, I feel like they have to acknowledge that. I hope they don't bring her back. She's not the strongest of actors, and I think she proved that in the last film. The use of CGI is never something that has worked well in Indiana Jones.
No, it really hasn't.
No, like J.J. Abrams
And
knew
they,
this.
and they have such great special effects, practical special effects that they have done over the years, and some of the most astounding ones have come from Indiana Jones movies. You know, it would be amazing. Star Wars was smart enough to do it and get back to more
Yeah,
practicality. It would be amazing to see that
I
here.
agree. Anyway, guys, what do you want to see from the fifth and final Star Wars Indiana Jones film outing with Harrison Ford? Do you think it's actually going to happen? And if it does, what do you think the story is going to be about? Who do you think the villains are going to be? What is it that Indiana Jones is going to be out looking for and finding? Jump on down to the comment section below and spill your brains. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what Scrooge McDuck would want you to do. DuckTales, woo!